Okay, good morning. My name is Nate Andrews with CAD Dimensions, and welcome to the webinar. Today, we're just going to start talking about the basics of the 3D Experience platform. And when I mean basics, I mean kind of going right over, just if you know nothing about the platform, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the roles that are included and some of the apps that are on the platform and how SolidWorks integrates with the platform today. So hopefully this is informative for you, and we'll get going here. I am going to turn off the camera just because it saves on bandwidth with our software here. So I'll turn off the camera for now and turn it back on towards the end. And welcome again. All right. Let's jump right into it. There are three different packages that are offered for the 3DExperience SolidWorks. This is similar to how they break down SolidWorks as well currently. And you'll kind of see in the three different packages, you'll see SolidWorks Standard on the left here. In the middle, you'll see SolidWorks Professional, and then you'll see SolidWorks Premium on the right. Now, this is exactly how they built up the packages for SolidWorks. In each package for SolidWorks, you get different features, right? So the same thing is included here on the 3DExperience SolidWorks offerings. So the first one here on Standard, and we'll go through this, but one thing you'll also notice is that you also have 3DExperience before you have SolidWorks Standard, Professional, or Premium. So that's important because it's your traditional SolidWorks, as you've known and loved for the last 30 years, but it also means that it's connected to the platform, and that's what the 3DExperience portion of the SolidWorks means right there. So let's dig into these different offerings here. So the first thing that you're going to see, and this is the standard offering, is you're going to always see these kind of two boxes at the bottom: collaborative industry innovator and collaborative business innovator. We'll dig into what those include, the different types of applications and stuff. But basically, the foundational role on the 3DExperience platform is the collaborative business innovator. You need to have that to basically do anything on there. Kind of I always call it kind of the data management portion of it is this next role here, collaborative industry innovator. And that gives you a lot more different applications that deal specifically with data management. And again, we'll get into these two roles in a bit. The next one here is your standard SolidWorks. It's called 3DExperience SolidWorks, but it's basically the exact same thing as what you've seen in the past for SolidWorks. And it's just the SolidWorks standard version. It's kind of that base level. In this offering, you also get a cloud CAD tool as well. And it's the 3D creator role. And that's the actual CAD tool is XDesign. Now, we'll get into kind of what this actually is in just a moment as well. But the main thing to just realize here is if your goal is to use SolidWorks, you have SolidWorks. It just happens to have the data management in the cloud is what these two things are down here. Next, on the professional level, you'll see you still have the same two base roles on the bottom here, the data management and the foundational role. But then you also have your SolidWorks Professional. So that's the middle offering. Just as you had SolidWorks Professional previously, you have that on the 3DExperience platform. But you also, in this case, get two different cloud tools, CAD tools, XDesign and XShape. And those are in the forms of the 3D Sculptor and the 3D Creator roles on the platform. Again, I'll get into what these are in just a moment as well, and kind of dig down a bit more. At the premium level, again, the two same roles at the bottom because that's what you need for for kind of data management on the platform. Then you have your SolidWorks Premium included here, and inside of SolidWorks Premium, traditional SolidWorks Premium that you've always had, you also have some simulation. And it's basically the exact same thing. This is simulation inside of SolidWorks, just as you've seen before. This is the SolidWorks simulation designer role, and that includes linear static analysis and then motion analysis. Again, this is just like traditional SolidWorks Premium. You've had those apps in there for the last 20 years or so. And then also you still get those cloud CAD tools up here at the top, the X Design and X Shape. Now there are other different kind of cloud CAD tools. We're not going to talk about that here because it's not part of these offerings. But there are other cloud CAD tools, and just to kind of, I like to show this to kind of show, apples to apples, sort of. But we all know SolidWorks, and in this case, SolidWorks, including features, sketches, surfaces, and assemblies. Those features of traditional SolidWorks are inside of the X Design Cloud CAD tool. If you need something like sheet metal, they have a separate app for that. It's called X Sheet Metal. Same thing, if you need weldments, you have X Frame on the cloud. If you need mold tools, you have X Mold on the cloud. If you need model-based definition, that's X Define on the cloud. There's also what's new in the last few months is an actual drawings application on the cloud. And this graphic just doesn't show it, but there is an offering for that as well. The other option that we showed that you do get in those offerings is X Shape. And this is subdivision modeling, so very organic type of modeling. And a lot of the surfaces that you can get off of this type of modeling, you simply can't do in a traditional CAD tool such as SolidWorks. Now let's talk about how SolidWorks does connect to the platform. Inside of your SolidWorks, inside of your task pane, you have the 3DExperience platform there. That's just how you can interact with the platform with the models that you have open. All right, and then what happens when you're actually interacting with the platform? So say you need to edit files. Well, you lock the files. I'll go back here. You see the kind of padlock here. You lock the files, meaning you reserve it for yourself so that you can edit. And then what that does is it brings down those files from the cloud, from the 3DExperience platform, and it puts it in local cache on your system. So this means that you can work with it. And once you make the edits to the files, it's going to allow you to then publish it back to the platform. So this is the way that you interact with the platform and what it does. It's actually, if you've used traditional vaulting types of systems in the past, it does the exact same thing, except you have to have the vault on, for data management on a local server on your network. And you're essentially doing the same thing. You're pulling the files down local, you're going to edit them, save it locally, and then you publish it back to the server for other people to see. It's really the exact same concept, except you're interacting with the 3DExperience platform on the cloud. And when you're in your, if you go to your C drive, which is typically where it's installed, you'll just see this little icon here, the little compass and the 3DExperience, and that's how you get into your folder structure here. Okay, let's talk about this, the platform for non-engineers. The last few slides are really kind of on the engineering side, on the designer side. How do you work with the platform? How do you pull files and push them back up, that sort of thing, and then the actual CAD offerings and that sort of thing. What if you're not a CAD user though? What if you're a manager or in sales or marketing or some other sort of group like that? So some of the different things you can do as, again, a non-engineer, non-CAD user is you can still collaborate with other groups that use CAD. You can also be connected to projects in different ways. So if you have a management role, for example, or maybe you're a project manager, but you still have to interact with the development of the project, right, or the product, whatever it is that you're doing. You can still get onto the platform, see the CAD models, interact with the designers and the engineers, and you can still have your say in the direction of the product development. So you still have a lot of those different opportunities on the platform. You can also do engineering changes and have a say in that. All right, so ECRs, ECOs, ECNs. If you have any kind of tasks that you want people to do or that you have to do, you can assign those. And there are some basic project management tools within. I'm just kind of looking at those two roles that were in those offerings. There are other roles that you can get into that gives you all sorts of additional project management tools and all sorts of other applications. But we're just going to kind of focus on the two kind of base ones. So again, here's the offering. So we're going to talk about those two bottom boxes across the board here, the orange one and the blue one. Again, I call those, instead of using some of the terms that they have here, the foundational role is the blue one, and then essentially the data management role is the orange one. So that's the terminology I'm using today. Right? So that's what you see there, data management role and foundational role. And together it allows you to have the cloud file storage, essentially, is what's going on there. Now this gets a little busy here, but as you take a look on the cloud here, you'll notice that if you click on the role itself, there are a lot of different apps that are inside of there, and they all kind of work together for kind of giving you that cloud experience. The ones on the bottom are kind of the main apps that are included in the foundational role, but it gives you the opportunity of getting onto the platform, storing files, being able to view stuff, and being able to collaborate on on different designs and projects and that sort of thing. And I have a URL here if you want to get more information. This will be posted as well after the webinar, so you can actually you'll be able to pause the screen and go type it in. But that's our URL for this role here. Now the next one is really kind of the data management role, and there's a lot more in it than the foundational one. This is where it also gives you all sorts of different tools for change management. On top of those foundational roles, this is where you can get your tasks and things of that nature. So if you see it here, we have the change management apps kind of on the upper left. And then on the lower right, I have in green the tasks, which can also kind of tie into the change management as well. What's kind of cool about the platform is a lot of these different apps, and it looks like there's a lot of them. A lot of these just kind of work together just on its own. You don't really have to do much to have them kind of interact together. So just briefly talking about the change management apps that we have, really the issue management app is essentially your ECRs. You're managing ECRs. People might be submitting an ECR depending on what they have as roles on the platform. The change action is basically you're doing the change. So it's the ECO portion of it. You're actively doing the change after the request has been accepted. Issue 3D review. It's collaboration for the actual engineering changes. So you can do markups and on the 3D CAD model or drawing or whatever the file is that's going through the change. And again, non-CAD users can actually go in there and they can look at a file, and it could be a person on the shop floor. Maybe they're the ones who said, well, this is a pain in the butt to build, and it'd be better if we did this other thing. And they're the ones who put the request in. They could be part of the actual change, engineering change process, and they could, grab the file, make highlight where they think it would be easier to to make a change to the file or the part, and then that all gets it gets captured in the engineering change process. The last one here is they call it the collaborative lifecycle. It's really a workflow app where you go from at very basic, you go from a work in progress to design approvals to revisions, or to actually I said released, not revisions. So you're just going through the workflow, but you can create revisions based on the workflow as well. So again, just kind of laying this out in a little bit of a different way. So your ECR is the issue management app, ECO is the change action, and then really the life cycle creates the new revision, the new rev of the file. Again, this is data management. This is just controlling files. So this is a quick little screenshot of the issue management app, but you can see that if you have a lot of different actions, they'll just get thrown up in here in a list. And then as you click on them, you're going to have detailed information as to what's going on with each of those issues. And again, if you are in the platform, whether you're a designer or an engineer, or you're just maybe you're in marketing or you're a project manager, something of that nature, you can view details on all these different issues. The next one, this is the change action, and this is really change management. And you can see there's a lot of different options on the left here as to kind of what's gonna happen to that actual change that needs to be done. So it essentially manages the tasks by the different groups that need to complete items to finish an ECR. That's essentially what it is. So again, this is essentially the ECO portion of the process. Next here is file lifecycle. So if you look in the upper right here, this is your overall life cycle. It's the workflow that you use for your files. And essentially, you usually start with in work, and then eventually you get to released. The frozen state is basically an approval state. So then you get into release there. But you can have different things. So if you start with an initial design, you can then also branch it off and say, maybe we're going to try this design, maybe we're going to try this design, maybe we'll go with this design. And all through the workflow process, you can do different iterations, and then you can just pull them back in, the ones that you decide are going to be the versions of the design that you're going to go with for your product. Now, tying into all the change management and all of those different apps, you also have tasks. Now, this one is Microsoft Planner. In the last couple of years, I know tons and tons of companies who have adopted Microsoft Teams and the different apps that are inside of there. I'm just trying to draw a parallel that this is your Microsoft Planner, a view of it. You can have different buckets and then assign tasks to different people, and then kind of track due dates and things like that. This is in the Microsoft platform, right? Well, inside the 3DExperience platform, you have a very similar situation here. So you can create tasks. You have different buckets that you can put them in. You can assign people to the task, things of that nature. One very different thing is what you're going to see here. It's all tied to your data that's already on the platform. So you can actually say, all right, in this task, in this one, edit the pump housing. All right, well, I just attached the file there. So people who are viewing this task, or whoever I'm going to assign it to, already has the data right at hand. So it's a big difference as to what something like Microsoft Planner does versus what tasks in the 3DExperience platform can do. Again, it kind of ties everything together. with all of your data. So some of these tools seem like they could be redundant with other systems that you might already have in place, but this has the added ability of having your data right there at hand. All right, some other collaboration tools that we have in here. You can create communities inside of the platform. This could be engineering teams. Maybe you have a new product engineering team versus maybe a custom or a one-off engineering team, and they do things a little differently, so they have different communities inside the platform. You can also have other teams inside your company, such as sales or marketing or manufacturing. They could all have different communities that they collaborate and talk about different things with each other. So this is a great way that you can share ideas. You can collaborate on new designs. Maybe there's a engineering change request that multiple people have to talk about. You can collaborate without necessarily having to have a meeting with 15 people in it. You can collaborate at your own time, on your own time, and you can have things like videos and images and markups of CAD data and things of that nature inside of here. To really kind of get across what your idea is or what you're trying to portray to the rest of the group. This also is kind of similar to some degree to the Microsoft Teams, where you have multiple teams and you have chats and stuff for the teams, and you can post videos and things like that. And then you also have chat in here as well. So you have conversations, and then you have communities. Communities are like teams with Microsoft Teams, just drawing that parallel. And then conversations are just like your chat with a single person or multiple people inside your community. And then obviously you can have rich discussion inside of here as well. The added benefit to using something like this on the 3DExperience platform, again, is your data is tied to, or can be tied to this chat. And not only that, people who are not engineers can view data and mark it up as well as they see fit. I mentioned that there are some kind of basic project management tools in those base roles. There are full project management tools in project management roles on the platform, but some of the basic tools out of those two base roles that we discussed earlier, we have Gantt charts for projects, so you can set up milestones and kind of lay out your entire project as you see fit. One other thing for project managers that would a lot of them really kind of like this sort of thing is you can get a 1,000-foot view on any given project inside of here. So this is the project execution app that's in there, but it gives you, for any given project, it's going to give you kind of a high-level dashboard look at different milestones that you've laid out in your project, and then it's going to give you, some nice reporting tools on how you're doing based on, the data points that you put into your project. So at this point, we're about 25 minutes in, and if you have any questions, let me know. I know this was I wanted to, again, get kind of to some of the basics and, some of the things that were, a lot of people get hung up on initially when talking about the 3DExperience platform. So we should have if you see the chat queue over there, go ahead and type in any questions if you have any. And I'll keep this open for another 4 or 5 minutes or so, depending on the number of questions. And thanks for stopping by. And thanks for listening and any questions. All right, first question. Can you make revision branches for assemblies and simulations? Yes, you can branch out assemblies and simulations. I think if you're referring to, can you just branch off, one iteration of an assembly or a part to do a simulation on? You certainly can do that, where you end up having different iterations, in simulations done on each one. You can do that as part of the way that you can test the part or the assembly based on whatever the criteria is that you need. All right. Any other questions? It's all right. Joined late. Maybe you covered that. What do we do if we currently use PDM? If you use PDM, yeah, can the data be imported? That's a fantastic question. Today, what we know is that it's a manual process to import the data over. There's not like a mass import tool at the moment. There is one that's in, I guess you'd call it beta at this point. And what we've been told is that within the next 6 months or so, it's supposed to be released. So if you currently use PDM and you're looking to go to the cloud and you have a lot of data, it might be a better time to just hold out until that tool comes. But and that's just full transparency of what we know right now. And it could be delayed. I have no idea. But the goal, from what we've heard, is that in the next 6 months or so, they're trying to get an import tool into the cloud. But great question, though. And actually, one addition to that is what's entailed with importing the data back or into the cloud, though, is another kind of aspect to it, right? So if you pull the files into the cloud in traditional PDM, if you have PDM Pro or Standard for SolidWorks, file references as you pull files into there are going to be, for the most part, maintained based on the assembly structure. Some of that in the cloud, from what we've seen so far, has to be almost recreated to some extent. So it's not the easiest thing doing it manually, and that's why they're working on a data import tool. All right. Is the manual method like a pack and go? Not quite. The easiest way that I've seen is actually, if you open up an assembly in SolidWorks, there's a way to upload each assembly into the cloud. That seems to maintain file references fairly well. Other ways you can essentially just drag and drop assemblies and stuff, documents right into the platform, and that one seems to not keep the references as well as actually opening it up in SolidWorks and then publishing it to the cloud. So it's not quite like a pack and go, but if you do it through SolidWorks, the references are maintained fairly well. It's almost like if you had an assembly open in SolidWorks and then you're trying to well, if you go through the platform inside SolidWorks, it is similar to a pack and go, but it's not any kind of similar interface or anything like that. It's doing a similar process, though. It's maintaining the references and pushing it up to the cloud. Is 3DExperience browser based or is it a cloud computer application? That's a good question. From what we talked about here today, there were really two different things here. The SolidWorks portion of it is still a computer application. So it's still based on your, on a workstation or something like that. The data management portion is completely cloud based or browser based. But those other two, actually, let me go back to it real quick here. So if you look at these bottom two boxes, those are completely browser based. The actual SolidWorks portion of it is a computer application. So you have to install it just like SolidWorks today. The other ones, the 3D Sculptor and 3D Creator, those that's XDesign and Xshape, those are browser-based CAD applications. So the SolidWorks portion is still on your computer, but if you wanted to use the other, the other CAD tools, those ones are cloud-based or browser-based. Another good question. All right, any other questions? Yep, here we go. So are 3D Sculptor and 3D and Creator files compatible with SolidWorks? Good question. You can pull those files into SolidWorks. They're called 3D. I gotta get this right now. 3D XML products, I believe. I believe the file type is 3D XML, if I recall off the top of my head. But you can pull them into SolidWorks. So, if, for example, if you're creating like a housing or something of that nature in 3D Sculptor, it's Xshape is the tool. You can pull that model into SolidWorks and build, other mechanical parts around it, and you can still add to it. But you're going to kind of see it almost like a dumb body for the initial thing, but you can add to it inside SolidWorks, add features to it. All right, any other questions? Those files cannot be edited, just added to. From within SolidWorks, they can just be features can be added to them. You can still edit them back in XDesign or Xshape, the 3D Sculptor, 3D Creator role on the cloud. What about SolidWorks files into the X apps? They can be brought over when you push the SolidWorks files up to the cloud. I believe if you open it into the X apps, XDesign or Xshape, you can open them up. I think it does an actual change from an SLD PRT, for example, from a SolidWorks part. I think it actually changes it when you put it up into the cloud to that 3D XML file type. So it does a translation of some sort in there. So I think that actually does. I think that's what's doing the background as you pull it into XDesign or Xshape. And can those files the SolidWorks files that go into the X apps, can they be edited or just another add to? Yeah, it would be another add to type of situation. When you go between, kind of traditionally, when you go between, a Creo to a SolidWorks or something, it's still two different programs and two different building procedures in the background, essentially. So you're kind of still dealing with a little bit of that sort of, kind of traditional type of scenario. All right. If there are any other questions, please type them in now. Otherwise, we'll shut down the webinar for today. All right. We'll call it for today. Thank you all for joining us and for all the questions as well. Fantastic. Thank you. Hope you all have a good day and join us on the next webinar. Again, this will be published to our YouTube channel in the near future. So if you missed it today or have any coworkers who you think it might be an interest to, please share the link once it's out. And again, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.